Joseph's coat of many colors may not have been all that colorful.
What?
If you've ever seen any depictions of Joseph from the Old Testament in Genesis, you've probably seen him draped in this psychedelic coat that requires an epilepsy warning to view. But did you know that it's possible that his coat was just as drab as any other at that time? It all started when Joseph's dad, Jacob, married two sisters. Not a good idea already.
Two queens on casino night. I am going to drop a deuce on everybody.
But he was tricked into marrying the older sister, Leah, that he didn't like because she had weak eyes, whatever that means.
Wait.
But then he married Rachel, who is the one that he really loved. Now, Leah ends up having a bunch of sons, but Rachel has a harder time having sons. But eventually, she does have a son, and his name is, you guessed it, Joseph. So, being the oldest son of the favorite wife, he then becomes Jacob's favorite son.
What? I was spending time with my favorite son. You got a problem with that?
Now, this was no secret. Everybody knew that Joseph was Jacob's favorite, but just in case it wasn't abundantly clear to everyone, Jacob makes Joseph this coat to remove any doubts.
Just thought the boy had a favorite gun. Look at him. He loves to shoot.
It was a dysfunctional move that was consistent with a dysfunctional family. Like, Dance Moms has got nothing on this family. As you're reading this passage in the Bible, it'll say something like, Israel loved Joseph more than his other sons. But at that point, some translations diverge. The one that you're probably familiar with says something like, Jacob gave Joseph a sick Technicolor coat to stun on his brothers.
I'm AI with the braids.
That's how the KJV and the ESV render it. But a less common translation reads, Jacob gave Joseph a long-sleeved coat. This is how the CSB and the NRSV translate it. Both of these translations are equally possible because the Hebrew phrase that's translated here can either mean differently colored pieces or long pieces. So it's either referring to a coat made up of different colored pieces or a coat that has pieces attached to the sleeve to make the sleeves longer.
There are 4 tenets I live by. 1, lengthen. 2, elongate.
So how are we going to figure out which one of these translations is right? Well, before we jump to any conclusions, let's add a little more context. First of all, Joseph was Jacob's second to youngest son. Secondly, Joseph was apparently tasked with keeping tabs on his older brothers.
Ooh, he's snitching. Everybody, he's snitching. Hey, dude, get back.
But not required to work the sheep as they were. It seems like Joseph got to stay at home with Dad while his older brothers were in the hot fields with the stinky sheep.
Sheep ranching is a dirty job, but it also puts clothes on our backs and food on our tables.
And then Dad would go send Joseph to go check on his older brothers and make sure that they weren't massacring entire cities. So it sounds like Jacob has promoted 17-year-old Joseph to a supervisor position over his older brothers. In that time, laborers would wear shorter tunics with shorter hems at the bottom so that they would have greater freedom of movement. But supervisors, because they didn't need all that freedom of movement, would wear longer sleeves and longer hems. You see where I'm going with this? What is more likely to have enraged Joseph's brothers to the point of faking his death and selling him into slavery? That Jacob gave him a cool coat, or that Dad promoted him over them and gave him authority over them? My money is on option 2. So personally, I think that the long-sleeved coat is the better translation, or you could always do what the NET does and say that Jacob gave him a special coat. Because what we do know for sure is that this coat was meant to set Joseph apart as the favorite son. Shoot, maybe it was long and colorful. I don't really know. All I know is that Joseph's coat of many colors may not have been all that colorful.